Yes, looks good.
Okay, fantastic. So this is my little tagline I love to use. Less time citing equals more time writing. And that's really what I think one of the most important things about citation management software is it saves you a huge amount of time when it comes to citing and creating bibliographies for your work. Um, so Zotero is one example of citation management software, but there are multiple softwares available that do similar things. For example, EndNote is one, and that is software you will find on some computers around campus. And also there's another one called RefWorks, which the library has access to because of a subscription we have to a database provider. But I really like Zotero especially well, so that's why I choose that as an example. It's just good to be aware that you have options. Before we get into anything specific about Zotero, I want to say a little bit about why citation management software in general is useful. It really does help give you control of your research. And of course, back in the day, that may have meant note cards, that may have meant, you know, having a notebook where you kept all of your citations and you wrote down all of the information for each item. Citation management software takes some of those old strategies and it just updates them with the technology that we have available today. So this software can allow you to not just collect citations, but also mix and remix them into new combinations and through folders, which I will show you how Zotero does that. The ability to kind of keep track of all your research through that process that you're going through to get your degree, right? Because theoretically, some of what you may have done or in terms of research in your first semester could be equally relevant to a project you may have to do in your last semester. And so having a citation management software where you are continually collecting these citations and saving them in one place helps you build on the foundation that you start with you know, additional information you find along the pathway toward your degree. You can also take advantage of features in the citation software to take notes and have them associated in the software with the article you were reading. So here's the article, here's the notes right there with it, as well as storing a PDF of that article along with the citation information and the notes you've taken. And then finally, it just really allows you freedom from that task of having to create individual citations for every article that you may be using in an annotated bibliography or a paper that you're writing or a presentation. Creating those citations by hand and also reduces the risk of saving incomplete citation information. And every reference librarian can tell you that we've gotten those calls, those panicked calls, that something is due the next day, but they don't have the page numbers or they don't have the volume number, you know, those little bitty details that we have to do an accurate citation. But when you're doing these things by hand, sometimes you miss them, right? So being able to leverage technology, like I said before, to collect that information for you can help avoid some of those inadvertent, right, mistakes. So that is citation management software in general, some of the abilities or capabilities that it offers. Zotero, more specifically, is the one we're going to look at today. And Zotero has features like, for example, having you save your citations, search for your citations in your citation libraries. It has tools that allow you to create bibliographies, take notes, as I said before, and store PDFs, synchronize your library across multiple devices, leveraging cloud storage to do that, so that you could be doing work at home, come to school, be doing work at school, and have access to the same library of citations in both places. And other cool things that we're going to look at later. So why did I pick Zotero? I already listed off several different citation management softwares, why Zotero? It is free, and that is the biggest thing. It's free, it's open source, which is the phrase that's used to describe software that has been developed and then given to the world for free to use at, not no cost at all to install or use or update for that matter. And that means also that because it's free, you can take it with you anywhere. So if you, Jessica and I were talking earlier, she's getting her master's in public administration. If you were going to be going on to another school, maybe to get your doctorate, and you left here, and if we were using EndNote and the school you were going to didn't have EndNote, you're faced with a choice. You have to try to export all of your stuff into another system, which you'd have to learn then, and it's kind of scary, or buy it, right? Buy a solution because your software wasn't available. So the portability of Zotero, I think, is very, very nice. And it also has great online tutorials and support resources, which I will show later in the presentation. So I like it for that reason. There's also a forum, online forum, where people share tips and tricks. I do, however, want to share a disclaimer. Zotero as a product may not be completely ADA compliant. And so people with particular disabilities may encounter difficulties with using Zotero. And I want to stress, however, that this is a completely optional tool to use. It is not required for classes at TAMUCC, and I'm doing the workshop just to share with you what I know about Zotero and to demonstrate its capabilities in the workshop today. So let me go to the next slide, which I think is going to introduce, yes, my demonstration and walkthrough of the Zotero features. Before I do that, I wanted to just ask really quickly if anybody has any questions about anything I just covered.
Lisa, I have a quick question, which is
Yeah.
you mentioned that the library has access to RefWorks, but
Mm-hmm.
is RefWorks considered ADA compliant?
Not to my knowledge, not fully. Neither is EndNote for that matter.
Thank you.
So yeah, when we get in there, well, I won't get into all of the issues of how to determine ADA compliance, but there are complexities to these softwares that I can imagine make it difficult to make it sure that they are equally usable by all persons with various disabilities across different technologies. But it is something to be aware of. All right, so any other questions? That was a good one. Guys seeing the library's homepage? Okay, great. So I'm just going to do a quick search here using the quick search utility. I'm going to do a quick search. Yes, using quick search to show you very quickly. And this is going to be very quick. Don't be alarmed because we're going to go back and look at all of these things in greater detail. But I do this to show you the power of a citation management software for helping you with the steps like these. So I'm doing my research here. I'm going to do a search on Zotero. And I'm going to find some articles that I might be interested in. And I see several here and I think, yeah, you know what, these things, articles, books, these look useful for me. So I'm going to go up here, and again, I will show you all this in greater detail here later. So right now I'm just going to go kind of quick. And I'm going to select a few items that I think would be useful for my research. How about that one? And I'm going to click OK. And you'll notice that up here it tells me it's saving. It's saving all of these things that I just clicked, and it ticks them off one by one. And now when I go to Zotero, here they are. They're in my Zotero. All the items that I clicked are
Hang on,
listed here.
Lisa.
Yes.
Your Zotero isn't showing up.
Oh,
I think you
maybe
might have shared a window again instead of a
oh, did I?
screen.
Oh, you know what? You're right. I did. I apologize. I'm trying to talk and do these things at the same time, and it doesn't work
It's a
very
lot
well.
to juggle.
Okay, trying one more time to share properly. Screen. Okay, yes, that's what I did. That's exactly right. I did that. So now you should be seeing, this is Zotero here. Are you seeing that?
Perfect. Yes.
Yeah. So what just happened was you saw me saving the citations. Then in Zotero, those citations are there. And all I had to do was click a button and make some choices in the list. And it brought all the information here. And for each of these items over here are the article, the item type, the title, the author, all of the volume, issue, and page numbers, the date, everything. And now I'm going to very quickly make a bibliography. And I will go through this all in greater detail yet later, but I created a bibliography from the items. I choose my citation style, and there are actually many more, but these are the few that it starts off with, and then you can add more. So I'll choose APA 7th edition. I'm going to click OK. I'm going to go into Word, and I'm going to paste. So that's how easy Zotero can make it to find items that I want to use in my research, suck all of that citation information into Zotero itself, and then use Zotero's bibliography feature to generate citations in a particular style. So just to give you a little bit of a taste of the power of Zotero. And now we're going to look at the features of Zotero in a little bit more detail and how it actually does this. And it's also going to be taking a little bit of the shine off the apple or the bloom off the rose and show you how it's a little bit more complicated than what I just showed you. But this is a good place to start because hopefully you're feeling pretty motivated at this point to learn a bit more about how Zotero works. Okay, so I'm going to minimize this. And I saw something coming through on the chat, and I apologize, I don't have the chat open in WebEx right now. Let me open that up. So,
That's all right. I just said that I love Zotero, and
okay.
Jessica said her jaw literally just dropped open when she saw how quickly that happened.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. And I can tell you as an example, when I first came here, one of the tasks that I got assigned was a faculty bibliography project. And I had very little time to get it done. And without Zotero, don't know how I would have gotten it done because this allowed me to search the citations for the works online, suck them into Zotero, and just export them as bibliography so quickly, and it really made that project doable. So we'll talk at the end about some of the pitfalls of all of this, but you can see the power of it right here, and I think it's definitely worth learning how to use one of these softwares. So here we are, that we're actually here in Zotero, and I've got my notes here, so let me just catch up with myself and make sure that I haven't forgotten anything big. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the Zotero interface. And by the way, to do what I just did, you need two things. You need Zotero itself, and you need a plugin well, actually, to do what I just did, you don't need the plugin to Word. But when I'm going to demonstrate to you later how to create citations in your papers, you will need a plugin to Word. So, and a plugin to the browser that you want to use. So actually, there's three things: the Zotero software, the plugin for your browser that you want to use, and then the plugin for Word. And at the end of the presentation, I'll show you how to get to Zotero to do the download. So here I am in Zotero, and let me minimize everything so that that's all you were seeing. And I'll explain a little bit about what we're looking at here, because you can kind of see, I think, that we have three sections, right? We've got this business over here on the left, we have this here in the middle, and then stuff on the right. So on the left, as you can see at the top, it says My Library. So this is My Library, all the citations. In fact, if I click on My Library, this is a list of all the citations I have ever gotten from an article or a book or a web page or anything that I've ever done in any research project ever. They're just dumped into a big old bucket. And then what I do to organize those, and what you will probably want to do to organize your work in Zotero, is create folders. And I've got a list here of all the different folders that I've created, and they basically reflect different research projects that I've worked on over time. And this represents about 10 years worth of research that I've done as long as I've been a Zotero user. So each of these folders contains the citations that refer to that research project. Okay, and I'll just go to the test folder. That's where I just brought down those Zotero citations that I got from the quick search. So when you bring in a citation into Zotero, Um, it will be listed here in the middle, and brief information. And over on the right, I remember we had the kind of panes, right? Three panes in this window, and the one on the right is the detail information about that specific item. So over on the right is where you find what type of an item it is, the title of it, the author's name, the publication information, all of that. So those are the three kind of sections of the Zotero window. And also, you'll notice that full text, when available, will be downloaded as well, and that's an option you can turn off if you want to, but I like having it so that when it can do it, and it can't do it in every database, but when it can, it will go ahead and get the full text for you and add it to the record. In this case, it also added in, for this a call number for a book, because this was a book in our collection here. So that's essentially how the Zotero software is arranged, or how the windows are arranged in Zotero, to give you a view, first of all, of your library and all the folders in it. In the center, the current contents of the whatever folder you're currently working with, and then on the right, individual item information. Okay. Any questions about that so far? All right. So we looked initially, we saw very quickly me saving some citations. Let's look at that again and do it a little bit more slowly this time. So you can save a citation to Zotero, whether you're in a database like Quick Search, or a database like Academic Search Complete, or if you're on the internet and you want to just save a web page, you can save a citation for a web page. Well, yes, it won't necessarily create a total perfect citation for you. The web pages are harder. But let's say you were in Amazon and you were looking at books in Amazon. It can save book information from Amazon, and it will find the author's name and the title and the publication information and everything. So I can do it in two ways, save those citations in two ways. I can save the way I did before when I was showing you, by using a results list like this and selecting the citations from a folder. But that's probably not always going to be the way we're going to want to do this. You may rather look at each individual item first and then decide, is this an item that I want to include in my research, right? So you can instead click on the information for a particular result in your results list. And in some cases, it's going to take you to the database containing the item. And you'll see in this case, that's what it did. It took us to ProQuest eBook Central. That's where the database name is over here. And interestingly, over here in my browser, because I have that browser add-on I mentioned, it has an icon indicating that this is, it's not a folder anymore. It actually shows a book. And that's because Zotero has identified that this item is a book based on the information it's able to get from the web page. So Zotero is actually pretty smart about that too. It's able to distinguish a book from an article as well, which is helpful because, of course, when you're building a bibliography, books and articles are cited differently. So having that be having it being able to identify the type of material and do that accurately is really important. And so I could decide, let me go back to my result list and see if I can, oh, this thing popped up again. It's the most annoying thing. Oh, go away,
Lisa,
no.
I think you can, when it's down, there's the little orange bit with sort of like
Yes,
some
okay,
dots on
I'm
the side.
dragging it. I'm
I think you can
dragging it.
drag it to the
Oh,
other screen.
okay. All right, thank you. Did it,
Yeah.
it's still showing the right screen though, right?
Yes, I am looking at Zotero, a guide for
Thank you.
librarians. Yep.
So one of the ones that I didn't get before, let's do that. So here is one from evaluating Zotero, Sherpa Romeo, and Unpaywall. So I'm going to click on this article And we'll take a look and see what happens. And you'll see that here we are in the Journal of Electronic Resources Librarianship that is on the Taylor and Francis online platform. And over here, Zotero has identified that it's not a book anymore, right? The icon has changed. This is the icon you get for an article. So I can click the item here and it's going to save that it's saving it. And then if I go back to Zotero, it has just saved it, and there's the article that I just found. So that's another way to do it. I demonstrated initially how to do it with a folder and checking boxes, but you can also go directly to the item and use that icon to save the item to Zotero. And don't be alarmed that the icon changes, because it's changing because it may be different types of information depending on what you're looking at. And here is where you can see that it did correctly identify it as a journal article, etc. And by the way, there is also an abstract. It's located the abstract and included that in the citation as well. All the publication information. It found the DOI, if you're familiar with DOIs, digital object identifier, that are often used to kind of like the ISBN for a book, right? The special number that no other article has that is unique to this article and can be used to easily find the article again. So lots of good information here that Zotero just automatically found and saved for me in my database. And in this case, it did also save a full text PDF for me. Now, I will point out that these links may not always work for you when you're off campus. So just be aware of that, because you, I believe, may have to set up proxy server information with your login to be able to have those links work for you in Zotero. Because when we're off campus, you have to have special, you have to authenticate, right, to get to our resources from off campus. And this URL here doesn't have that extra bit of authentication tacked onto it to let you do that. So I believe that you can set that up for proxy server stuff in here. And I can look at that later. Maybe we can talk about that next time when we do advanced Zotero, setting up a proxy server. In fact, let me make a note to do that. Okay, so any questions about that? That was the step where you're just saving information from the different sites that you visit into Zotero.
You mentioned that you could find books on Amazon. Will it be able to tell the difference between a regular book and an ebook?
I do, let's see. I don't know that it will. Let me search in books. I just finished All Systems Red, which is a really fun book if you like science fiction. So if I go to the information for this particular book, it does recognize it as a book, but this is the Kindle edition. Let's see what happens if I save it. It says Kindle in this, but that's not really gonna help us. Let me see. Where's Zotero? There's Zotero. So here is the information. It doesn't make a distinction between book, but also there is no selection for ebook in the drop down here. So it's going to depend on your citation style, how they treat ebooks and if they treat them differently from regular books. Some citation styles do, some citation styles don't. So that's probably something that you'll need to kind of add or finesse. And actually, that's a good example, Jessica, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
thank you for asking that question, actually, because there are always going to be little things that you're going to have to kind of finesse. This does 98% of the work for you. There's that 2% that's left that you sometimes have to kind of get in there and handle yourself, because people use different citation styles, and because sometimes the data that we get from these different websites or databases either isn't correct or it's got terrible formatting. For example, sometimes for whatever reason EBSCO databases want to put the titles in all capital letters, and it will come that way into Zotero, and so you have to get in there and fix that. So at a little bit later in the presentation, I'm actually going to demonstrate how to fix things in Zotero when there's a mistake that you need to address. Does that help?
Okay. Yes, thank you.
Oh, thank you. All right. So that is how to pull down an item into Zotero from the different kinds of sources. Let's look at what happens with a web page. Like, let's say we went to the USDA website and we used some information on here about climate change, or if you'll notice that up here the icon is again a little bit different. It's saving this to Zotero as a web page, and that is the item type here. And it gives us a little bit of information in the abstract, but it's not identifying an author information. It does include the link, and this is kind of cool, it includes a snapshot. So the snapshot actually helps you if, for example, at some point the website disappears or the website changes drastically and the information you were using is no longer there. The snapshot can help by giving you sort of an artifact of what that looked like on the day that you did access that website. So that's kind of cool. This would be an example of a place where you would need to go in here and, knowing what you know about whatever the citation style is that you're using, enter some of this information in order to get an accurate citation. And that's just because the web, everybody designs their websites differently, and there's really very little that Zotero can do to find all of the, all the necessary information in order to populate this database properly, if that makes sense. But it does find it. I mean, it does save it for me, and I love the snapshot feature. It's really great. So, so those are examples of how to add different types of citations. And so let's look real quickly. Let's say, I'm guessing that some of you may use APA style normally. So let's look at this example here. Zotero harnessing the power of a personal bibliographic manager is the title of the article, and over here is the title as it's displayed in Zotero. And if you know APA, you probably see a problem with that title. Can anybody tell me what the issue is with that title for APA style?
You would only capitalize the first word and the word after the colon.
Exactly. So this is what we call title case, the way this is done here, and is more typical of an MLA citation or a Chicago citation. But APA uses sentence case. And I just wanted to show that it's really easy to change from title to sentence case by just right-clicking on the title and choosing the option that you want. You might need to go the other way because you're an MLA user. So I can choose sentence case. However, I do need to go back in here and fix the one that's after the colon, just like you said. That first word after the colon does need to be capitalized, and I have to fix that. But I do that by just clicking in the box with the information that I need to change and making the edits. So all of this information here is editable. So very easily editable. So I'm actually going to put this back because I want to demonstrate something with this here in a little bit. And what time is it? 4:07. Okay. So yeah, just be aware, and like I said, the bloom being off the rose here, Zotero isn't perfect. It's not going to take bad information from a database or from a website and automatically fix all of it. So there is sometimes some repairs that you will have to make to use Zotero or to get accurate citations. Alrighty, so we talked about the collections over here on the left, and I just really quickly wanted to point out that you can create a collection just by right-clicking on your library and choosing New Collection. And so that's, pretty straightforward, and you create the collection, you name it whatever you want to name it, and then you can drag and drop citations into it that you've already identified. Or if you're doing research, the thing I like to do, have Zotero open. You have to have Zotero open, and then make sure that you have highlighted that folder before you start saving your citation. So create the folder, name it, highlight it, then do your research, and then it's just going to suck all those citations directly into the proper folder. So that's the best way, I think, to go about adding those citations and making sure that you're not just adding them to your library, but you're collecting them together in a bucket that makes sense for your project. You can also create subfolders, and you can see that under, well, that's not a good example. Under information literacy, I have a lot of subfolders. So you can nest folders within folders to your heart's content. Okay, and if you decide you don't want something anymore, you just right click on it and move it to the trash. You can remove it from the collection and keep it. So let's say you don't need it for your current project, but you want to hang on to it for later. If you remove from the collection, it will go away from this window, but it's still in your library. So I can still go to my library and find that again. And just FYI, I can find it by searching. So title contains climate and search, and here's climate solutions. So I haven't lost it, but I took it out of that collection because I didn't need it for that research project. So it's nice to have that option to remove from collection or to move it to the trash if you totally don't need it at all anymore. So those are important features to be aware of, I think, when you're managing your folders and collecting your citations. So any questions before we talk a little bit about actually creating footnotes in bibliography, or actually not footnotes, but citations in the in your papers and bibliography? Okay. Alrighty, awesome. So let me open up Word again. So this is a different kind of task, right? What I did before was what you might do if you needed to just hand in a list of the 10 sources that you have found that you're going to use in a research paper. Sometimes a professor will have sort of a drafty kind of step for you during the semester where you just share what you've found. This is a good way to go about doing that. But often the way you're going to be assembling a bibliography is by actually creating the citations in your article or your report. I keep saying that instead of paper. I don't know why, but and then generate the bibliography from what you cited, right? And so that is what that plugin for Word is for. And if you look at my Word, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to move it. Look at me moving it. There it goes. And I'm going to move Word over to here. So if you look here in my word bar, here is Zotero. So I have added an add-in to Word for Zotero. And this step, what I'm going to show you next, you have to have added that add-in before this will work. Okay. I'm going to get rid of this and start from scratch. So I'm typing my paper. And now I need to cite something. Okay. So I go up here to Zotero, and I've got Zotero open in the background. I always have to have Zotero open. Go to Zotero and say, I need to edit a citation for the best sentence ever. And I'm going to be using APA 7th edition, and I'm going to click OK. And what it does is it opens up a little search bar for me to search my Zotero library. And I can type in a keyword that I might remember. It could be the author's name or a word that might be in the title of the article. And let's say, oh yeah, that's the one, academic social networking sites. That's the one I want to cite. And I click that and I hit enter, excuse me, and it inserts the citation for me, which is pretty cool. So then I can also start working on my bibliography. So down here is where I'm going to put my bibliography. and I'm going to tell Zotero, hey Zotero, add my bibliography. And I click on add bibliography, and it inserts the bibliography associated with the citation that I had put into my paper. Which is pretty cool. Um, so you can also, and this, we often do this, I then cited several authors on the same topic. And here I go to Zotero and I say, I need to add some citations, but I need to add multiple citations. It can be done using this interface, but for this task, I prefer the classic view, which I access by just clicking the little downward pointing arrow next to the Z. I'm going to the classic view, and this actually kind of gives me a little Windowsy looking thing into my Zotero library. And I can search for the articles about Zotero, which I just typed in my little search bar here, and I can say, all right, well, I'm going to add multiple sources because, like I said, I'm trying to get multiple citations into the same. So clicking on multiple sources allows me to then move some of these over here. See, I'm clicking the little arrow that points to the right, and put this one over there. And now I'm going to cite these three sources in the same citation. Okay, click OK. It adds all three citations up here, and it adds the three entries in the bibliography that correspond to those three citations. So, and I don't know that I got that right. I can't never remember if they're inside or outside the period, so I might have gotten the period placement wrong there. But anyway, so it's pretty cool too that Zotero not only offers you the capability to store citations for future reference, but it also offers you the capability to generate citations in text and also generate bibliography from those citations. So pretty nifty. Any questions about what I just did? Would anybody like me to show that again? Okay, not hearing anything. Let me, oh, I see a good example. So remember we talked before about sentence case versus title case, and I showed you how you could change that in Zotero. So often when you will actually see that there's a mistake in a citation is when you do this, okay? And you put it in the bibliography and you're looking it over and you're like, oh my God, no, okay? So like I'm looking at the Colvard citation here, and immediately my, heart wants to stop because I see that the case in that title is incorrect. You should go back and fix that in Zotero. It's very tempting to go here and start fixing the letters, but don't do that. Fix it in Zotero because then it'll be fixed forever. And like I said in the beginning, we're not just building a library for this project, we're building a library that could help us throughout not even just through our degree. We're going to be professionals in this field, and the information that we're getting now could be of use to us later. So let's fix it in Zotero now, and then every time we need to use it in the future, it will be correct, right? So I'm going to go ahead and open Zotero and go to that folder where I know that article lives, and it was this, was it that one? Which one was it? I'm actually not seeing it. I wonder if it's not in this folder. Let me type in, do a search for Zotero and see if I can find that one. Oh, how interesting. Hang on just a second. Colvard, the impact of, oh, it's not about Zotero. That's why I couldn't find it. Okay, sorry. I must have just clicked on it when it popped up with my search earlier. So let me go ahead and do Colvard, searching for the author's name. And I'm going to search my whole library because it's not in the Zotero folder. See, isn't this nice? I've got a lot of citations. And this really makes it possible for me to easily search for one, even if I don't find it the first time, because I don't maybe remember accurately where I put it, but I can figure it out, right, using the search. Whereas if this was all on pieces of paper or whatever, or, or in multiple Word documents, I might have a little bit more trouble. Okay, so here is the one that I needed. I'm going to click on it to bring up the article information on the right. And I'm going to go in here and I'm going to say, no, 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 we want sentence case. Fix it here. Okay. Go back to my paper that I'm writing and click refresh. See where refresh is kind of small, but it's up here. Refresh, hit refresh, and it fixed it for me in the paper. So again, rather than fixing it in the paper, I fixed it in Zotero, came back to my paper, hit refresh, and then the fixed content that I did in Zotero is now here. So this is true for everything. If I have to fix a volume number, if I have to fix an author's name or whatever. But you will notice that it did figure out how to do the APA style with the names, even though in my citations, the author's names are not in the format of just being the initials. So Zotero did figure that out for me, which is nice. So did that step make sense, what I just did? I really recommend doing that, making sure that you always fix a problem in Zotero and then use your refresh button to make your document up to date with what you did in Zotero. All right, any questions about any of that? All right, I'm just making sure I haven't missed anything.
I love that refreshing tool. I have been using Zotero to store stuff, and I'll like copy a bibliography from Zotero into and paste it in Word. I don't use it integrated in Word, and this makes it seem like I should definitely be actually just integrating it with Word because it looked so simple.
It really does help. Every once in a while, it does something that's a little haywire, you know, and that usually just involves taking out and doing it again. Like every other piece of technology, Zotero isn't always 100% infallible. All right, so let me show you real quick how to actually get to Zotero. So I'm going to switch or bring my my presentation maybe over to this window instead of switching windows again, and follow the little trick here with this and go to my next slide. So are you guys seeing the to download Zotero
We are
link?
seeing what looks like the presenter's view.
Oh, um, well, you know what? In the interest of time, can we live with that?
Yeah, it looks great.
Uh, yeah, you know, these things never happen until you're doing a presentation. Then all of a sudden it's a combination of, oh my God, I'm doing a presentation and I can't think, and just, you know, just general jollity that these things happen. So sorry about that. Yes, so that's the link. Emily just shared it in the chat. Zotero.org, pretty easy to remember. And it is a .org. This is an open source program. Nobody's making any money off of Zotero, the design of the program. Now they do offer cloud storage, and if you have more than 300 megs worth of full text, you can pay to have a little bit of extra cloud storage. So they are making probably a little bit of money on that. But the Zotero.org is free to go to, and I'll just go ahead and go there right now. Hopefully you're seeing Zotero.org. And here's the download button. And as you can see here, is available for Mac, Windows, and Linux if you're hardcore. So you do have options there. This is not just a Windows product. And when I click the download button here, I want to download Zotero 5.0 for Windows and the Zotero connector. And there are other connectors, so if you would prefer not to use Firefox, you can. But Firefox has always been the sort of the browser of choice for Zotero. So, you know, feel free to try other browsers. I use Firefox with it. But the button for that connector's here, button for other browsers is here, and then if you scroll down, this is where the plugins are, and there are a number of different third-party plugins, and these are not created by the Zotero folks. They're created by other developers. That's the fun of open source, you know. Other developers can get in there and play around. And so you can feel free to browse some of these. I honestly have not looked at this very closely, so I can't tell you much about them. But the one that I have used and do use is way down here. Well, is it way down? Yeah. Word processor and writing integration. And I actually think, hang on, I'm sorry, I'm scrolling on you guys, but there is a table of contents over here on the right that I should have used. There's a link right here for the word processor and writing integration plugins. So clicking on that takes you to here, and this is the one for the word processor plugins. And there are several for Word, LibreOffice, Google Docs as well. So this is the plugin you need to do the in-text citations, right, where it opens up the window and lets you search your Zotero library and automatically add citations and bibliography. All right, so that's pretty much everything I was planning to cover today.